I've really been trying to understand the underlying psychology of postmodernism and its relationship with neo-Marxism, and then the spread of that into the universities and the effect on the culture. And what I would like to start with is a description of your understanding of that, because like I've presented to the people who are listening to me my understanding of it. I interviewed Stephen Hicks recently, and he wrote an interesting book called Explaining Postmodernism, which I liked quite a bit. It's been criticized for being too right-wing, although I don't think he's right-wing at all. I think maybe you could characterize him as middle-of-the-road conservative, but I would say he's more like a classic liberal. But I'm really curious about your views about, well, what postmodernism is, first of all. I know you've identified it with the general tricksters, Derrida and Lacan and Foucault in particular you've talked about, but I'd like to know what you think about postmodernism and also why you think it's been so attractive to people.
Well, my explanation is that there is no authentic 1960s point of view in any of the elite universities, okay? But rather, the most liberated minds of my generation of the 1960s did not go on to graduate school. I witnessed this with my own eyes. I saw genuine Marxists, okay, at my college, which was the State University of New York at Binghamton, upstate New York, Harper College, which had a huge cohort of very radical downstate New York Jews, okay, who, in fact, the Harper used to be called Berkeley East. So I saw genuine, passionate Marxists with my own eyes. They were not word choppers. They were not snide postmodernists, okay? They were in-your-face aggressive. They used the language of the people. They had a populist energy, okay? They dressed working class. They were non-materialistic, okay? These are people who lived by their own convictions. They were against the graduate schools. When I went on to graduate school and it became known that I was going to go to Yale, I was confronted by a leader of the radicals on campus in broad daylight in front of everyone, who denounced me for, he said, grad school is not where it's happening. You don't do that. If you have to go to graduate school, you should go to Buffalo. Now, I had applied to SUNY Buffalo because the great leftist critic Leslie Fiedler was there, who had a huge impact on me. He created identity politics, but without its present distortions. Right? And Norman Holland, the psychoanalytic critic, was there. I would have been very happy to have gone on to Buffalo, but I needed the library at Yale, so I continued on to Yale. There were no radicals in the graduate schools, okay? From 1968 to 72 when I was there. Only one radical, Todd Gitlin, okay, went on to have a career success. Okay? The actual radicals of the 1960s, okay, either went off, dropped out of college and went off to create communes, right? Or they were taking acid and destroyed their brains. Now, I have also written about that. The destruction of the minds, okay, of the most talented members of my generation through LSD. It was going on all around me. Right? So what's happened is the actual legacy of the 60s got truncated. The idea that these post-structuralists and postmodernists are heirs of the 1960s revolution is an absolute crock. Okay? What they represent, as Foucault shows, Foucault said, okay, that the biggest influence on his thinking, okay, was Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, okay, which was a post-World War II play written in Paris that was about the disillusionment and nihilism experienced after Hitler went through occupied France, right? And all of Europe was in ruins. It had nothing to do, what's in Waiting for Godot has nothing to do with the authentic legacy of the 1960s, which was about genuine multiculturalism, a movement toward India, toward Hinduism, a transformation of consciousness through psychedelics, which I did not take, but which I identify with totally through the music, etc. Right? It was a turn toward the body. It was a turn toward sensory experience, okay? Not this word chopping thing and this like cynical removal from actual experience, right? That French import, okay, came in, okay, to the graduate schools. It did not affect any genuine 1960s person. The real 1960s revolution was about Jung. It was about a way of seeing the cosmos in mythological terms, right? And the Jungian contribution went on into the New Age movement of the 1970s, aside from the universities. Right? So who took over the universities were these careerists. Okay? I saw them with my own eyes. I saw what happened. I was at Yale when Derrida was being shipped over, okay, to address the students, the grad students, and the faculty. And I said to a fellow student after hearing one of these guys speak, it wasn't Derrida, it was another one of the theorists. I said, they are like high priests murmuring to each other. All right. This was an elitist form from the start. Okay, it was not progressive. It was not revolutionary. It was reactionary. It was a desperate attempt to hold on to what had happened before the 1960s sensory revolution. So this postmodernist thing, okay, this trashing, okay, of the text, this encouragement, okay, of a superior and destructive attitude toward the work of art. We're going through it, okay, primly with red pen in hand, finding all the evidence of sexism, check, racism, check, homophobia, check. That is not the empathic, emotional, okay, sensory-based, okay, revolution of the 1960s. Right? I am sick and tired of these people claiming any kind of mantle from the 1960s. They're frauds. These people are, what happened in the 1970s was a collapse of the job market in academia. Okay? Right? All of a sudden, the jobs were scarce. And this thing was there, the new and improved and shiny thing, okay, to be a theorist. Okay? People seized on it. Okay? It was institutionalized. Right? And it's an enormous betrayal of the 1960s. Okay.